this would be a problem. This would be a problem. You put JSN there, they would wreak havoc for a very long time. Whoo, this is a good one. This is a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, we got a treat for you today because in this edition of TDN's Mock the Mock, we got new entries, we got new landing spots. My man Joe, you better not call him Dan Marino, gave us some absolute heat in his V1 2023 NFL mock this past Monday. Click the link in the description somewhere down there to get the full mock. We're not talking about the offensive players for fantasy purposes, but check out the whole article, check out all the landing spots. But man, I am ready to get into this one. There's a player mocked in round one. I think should have been mocked in round one a couple of mocks ago, but Joe gave us that good stuff. So I'm glad you are tapped in. Y'all know what you got to do. Strap in. 2023 NFL Draft Mock the Mock, Joe Marino edition, TDN. Let's get it. All right, here we go. The first offensive fantasy relevant player off of the board. Surprise, surprise, Will Levis. Joe Marino loves him. Kyle Krabs loves him. I love him. It's Will Levis out of Kentucky, right? The Giants go ahead and get their quarterback of the future. I know Daniel Jones had a good game, right? Good preseason game too, but he ain't it. He ain't the answer long-term. You get this kid. We continue to talk about it. The tool, the traits, the talent. 6'3", 230-something pounds with above-average athleticism, arm strength out of this world. Will Levis with Brian Daboll. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm going to love it every time I see Will Levis mocked to the New York Giants. Good stuff, Joe. Will Levis to the Giants. Superflex. He's in consideration to be the top pick. Even a little conversation with him and Bijan Robinson that we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But we got a familiar face, a familiar name, and a familiar place. At number 6 overall, Joe has Alabama Crimson Tide Heisman Trophy winning quarterback Bryce Young going to the Carolina Panthers, who just recently named Baker Mayfield as the starter. Probably not going to be a good team. If they're not a good team, Matt Rule is out, and unfortunately for Baker Mayfield, he's probably out the door as well. You get arguably probably the most pro-ready type quarterback in Bryce Young to Carolina. Good for DJ Moore, good for Terrace Marshall, maybe good for Christian McCaffrey, but good for Bryce Young. I like the pick. Bryce Young, a familiar name and a familiar place to the Carolina Panthers. Love it, love it, love it. Now, This is one for fantasy purposes, tight end premium leagues. This moves the needle, right? This tight end goes top 7 to the Jacksonville Jaguars, who a lot of offensive talent around those offensive skill position players, but tight end is lacking, right? Dan Arnold ain't it. Evan Ingram is not good. You go out and get Michael Mayer in tight end premium leagues, you're talking about a player who could instantly be a top 6 pick, depending on the type of premium that you play in. Michael Mayer to the Jacksonville Jaguars, giving Trevor Lawrence another body, another option, another dynamic playmaker. Love the fit. Good job, Joe. Here we go. Number 10, a lot of people's QB1 out of Ohio State. C.J. Stroud tumbling a little bit in this mock. Not as far as old Keith had him, but he tumbled down out of that top 5 to the Washington Commanders, who are rolling with Carson YOLO Wentz for this season, and it's probably going to be for this season only. Terry McLaurin got a new deal. They got a young stud in Jahan Dotson. You add C.J. Stroud to this offense with starting running back Brian Robinson and backup running back Antonio Gibson. You might have some magic in Washington. C.J. Stroud in Washington, as a Dallas fan, doesn't really scare me. I'd rather see C.J. Stroud twice a year than Bryce Young or Will Levis, so go ahead and bring him on. Well, damn. Will Levis is in the East. He got a mock to the Giants, so that's probably not good for my Cowboys. But C.J. Stroud of the Washington Commanders, they get their quarterback of the future, and he is firmly in the top 5, sort of super flex consideration in those rookie drafts. Now, the New England Patriots need all the damn help they can get. We've been watching the preseason, and, Devontae Parker, Nelson Aguilar, Tyquan Thornton's hurt. They need somebody. They've got to get somebody eventually. KeShawn Boute would make a ton of sense paired with Mac Jones. Let's not overthink this, New England. Draft a damn receiver and draft a good one. KeShawn Boute, my wide receiver 1 in the 2023 class, would love the fit with Mac Jones. Give him KeShawn. Give him Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I don't care. Give him some help. Give him a first-round caliber talent in round 1. Help Mac Jones out. Help your quarterback. Don't hurt your quarterback. Help your young QB. In this selection of KeShawn Boute to the New England Patriots does just that. Speaking of Jaxon Smith-Njigba, quite the tumble for him. I believe this is the lowest we've seen him go of all the mocks that we've done. But at 16 overall, the Minnesota Vikings select the Ohio State wide receiver phenomenon extraordinaire Jaxon Smith-Njigba to pair him with Justin Jefferson. This would be a problem. This would be a problem. You put JSN there where I don't know if he profiles as an alpha go-get-it one, but you put him with Justin Jefferson, who in my opinion is the best wide receiver in the NFL, they would wreak havoc for a very long time. This would be a phenomenal fit, would give Kirk Cousins some life. Man, this is a really good spot for Jaxon Smith-Njigba. I really like this one. Hadn't really thought a lot about the Vikings upgrading that position. You know, they still got Thielen and KJ Osborne, but you get JS in there, that offense is even more lethal. It's scarier, and those two wide receivers are just going to run circles around the NFL for years to come. So JSN to the Minnesota Vikings. I mean, hell, if I had to say right now in a super flex league, right, he's right there. We haven't seen where the running backs go, but he's right there to be in consideration to be a top 5 pick with this selection in Minnesota. Might move him down a little bit because we know he's not going to be the guy, but I love the fit in Minnesota. It's a great NFL team fit, and we see how it would play out for fantasy purposes. Now, the Houston Texans, all right? Right now, they have a Hall of Fame running back. Right now, Dameon Pierce, give him the gold jacket because he's a Hall of Famer right now, and I don't understand why they would turn around and draft the generational talent of Bijan Robinson, some people like to say, but Joe Marino said, damn it, Dameon Pierce, get out the way. Bijan Robinson, you are up, because the Houston Texans went ahead and took the stud running back out of Texas. I asked some people, man, in the Discord how they would feel about this landing spot compared to another running back we're talking about. And while the next running back off of the board, the landing spot is a lot better, talent over situation. And right now, as much as I love Jahmyr Gibbs, Bijan Robinson is my running back one in this class. If he goes to Houston, I don't really care, right? Just give him all the touches, right? We did the same thing with Breece Hall. We know the Jets aren't a great destination, but if he's going to get the volume and receive the work, that's a player that you want to invest in. Bijan Robinson, absolute stud, goes to Houston. Unfortunately, the reign of the Hall of Famer Dameon Pierce comes to an end. Enjoy that while you can. More importantly, sell for it first as soon as you get the opportunity. Now, the Indianapolis Colts, right? They got my boy, USC wideout Michael Pittman Jr., big body wide receiver, and they turn right back around and draft another one in Quentin Johnston out of TCU. I mean, just the Twin Towers on the outside. Michael Pittman, Quentin Johnston. You know, Matt Ryan still got a little bit left in the tank, right? You get Quentin Johnston out there with Michael Pittman Jr., that would make for a lethal combination. We're kind of seeing that play out a little bit in Atlanta with Kyle Pitts and Drake London. I don't know, right? I don't know. Like, for fantasy purposes, I still think Pittman would be the one, right? And how much, how high would you take Quentin Johnston in rookie drafts if he were walking into a situation, much like JSN, right, where off the rip they're probably the number 2 in that offense, but Quentin Johnston to the Indianapolis Colts, I know some people would love it playing indoors. Matt Ryan want to air it out, and they're devoid of a second pass catcher. I think he is light years better than Alec Pierce, so I'm not concerned about that at all. Quentin Johnston to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, just my guy. He's just my guy, and I don't know why all the TDN scouts want to torment me, right? I am a Dallas Cowboy fan. Love it or hate it, that's what I am. And they want to continue to torment me. Keith did it last week with Bijan Robinson, and damn it, Joe's doing it now. Giving Jahmyr Gibbs to the Philadelphia Eagles. Why? What have I done to y'all? Gibbs to Philly? I don't want to see that. I don't want to see it. I don't want to see Hurts and Gibbs and A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert and Devon. I don't want to see this happen. But this would be very good for Philadelphia Eagle fans. Right now, Miles Sanders not getting re-signed. Kenneth Gainwell, really like Kenneth Gainwell, probably not an every down type running back. Boston Scott, man, phenomenal way of carving out a role in the NFL, but they need a dude, and Jahmyr Gibbs is a dude. You talk about a dynamic weapon, running the ball, catching it out of the backfield, being utilized as a pass-catching weapon. Let me tell you, I say this all the time. There's a difference between running backs that can catch passes and running backs that can be deployed as a pass-catching weapon. Jahmyr Gibbs can be deployed as a pass-catching weapon. Philly gets this kid, it's problems, right? It's problems. Now, I'm cheating a little bit because I just have to defend my boys, because Joe did give us Noah Sewell, the linebacker out of Oregon, with the next pick, so maybe that would help ease some of the fear of Jahmyr Gibbs running rampant over Dallas for the next couple of years. Now, the Seattle Seahawks, we know Drew Lock ain't it, nor Geno Smith, so they go ahead and take Anthony Richardson, which Pete Carroll, A. Rich, we'll see, right? There's a lot. Anthony Richardson is the type of player that we are going to know very early in this college football season what we have with him. The talent, the skill, all the intangibles and the athleticism are there. He's got to put it together for a season, right? And if he does it, he's going to get the draft capital. And I think 22 is very appropriate for Anthony Richardson. So a little bit lower than my man DP had him, but Rich in the first round, I think he'd be a player where dynasty gamers would have to make a really tough decision between that first round quarterback and maybe a couple of these wide receivers or maybe even a Jahmyr Gibbs because of the talent that Anthony Richardson possesses if he hits that ceiling, right? Seattle Seahawks take him at 22. Now let's talk about the man. This is a player that I am just ready to see. Tyler Harrell, wide receiver out of Alabama, 24 overall to the Baltimore Ravens. If y'all don't know who Tyler Harrell is, he had 18 catches last year for like 500 and something yards and 8 touchdowns, and he runs a 4.1 40-yard dash, and he's not 5'8", 155 pounds. He's densely built. He's thick. He's got the size. He doesn't look like the Tutu Atwells of the world, but damn it, he can run. And you put him in an offense with Mark Andrews commanding those seam routes. You get Rashad Bateman, the intermediate routes, and you get Tyler Harrell running those deep crossing routes, those 9 routes. Lamar Jackson deserves help. Give it to him. Tyler Harrell, 24 overall to Baltimore, death taxes, and an Alabama wide receiver being drafted round 1. It's as good a bet as you can make in life, right? It's going to happen. Tyler Harrell, this year's Jameson Williams. Book it, write it down, save this, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff. Come holler at me come the NFL draft next spring. And the final offensive player that we're going to talk about, the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They take my USC Trojans wide receiver Jordan Addison at 29, giving Patrick Mahomes another weapon. A lot of people are like, oh, they just drafted Sky Moore. Sky Moore's good. Jordan Addison, in my opinion, is a little bit better than Sky Moore. And Jordan Addison profiles more like a traditional outside receiver. Now, Sky Moore can do those things. Jordan Addison can do it as well. He can play in the slot. He can play on the outside. Dynamic after the catch. Outstanding body control. And given this talented Kansas City offense another weapon, you got to keep feeding your horse, feeding the engine, feeding Patrick Mahomes. Jordan Addison to Kansas City again. A bunch of wide receivers in round 1. No Jermaine Burton. This one, we didn't see Jermaine Burton. We saw his Alabama running mate Tyler Harrell. Jahmyr Gibbs to Philly. Love it, man. Give Philly Jahmyr Gibbs. I love Gibbs. Quentin Johnston to the Colts. Bijan Robinson to the Texans. JSN to the Vikings. We also had KeShawn Boute to the Pats. Then we had a bunch of quarterbacks in the top 10. Will Levis, CJ Stroud, and Bryce Young. And then we had a tight end in Michael Mayer at number 7 overall to the Jaguars. There it is. Joe Marino's 2023 NFL V1 mock draft, the first one of the season. Make sure you click the link in the description. Check out the entire mock draft. And if you're here and you stay to the end, damn it, I better get a thumbs up button. Subscribe to the channel. Comment for the algorithm. Let us know what picks you like, who you want to see in the next first round from one of our TDN scouts. It's coming next week. Appreciate y'all tapped in. We out of this thing. Peace.